The night she dropped in, Jay was sleeping peacefully in his small dorm room when something heavy crashed onto his chest. Thump. His eyes flew open. He couldn't breathe. A loud groan escaped his lips as he looked down and froze. Something. Or someone had fallen on him. She wasn't human. She was glowing slightly, with smooth silver blue skin, huge black eyes, and soft ridges on her forehead. Her long white hair floated around her head like she was underwater, and she was definitely not from Earth. Jay gasped. "What the heck? Who are you?" The alien girl blinked slowly, as if just waking up. She tilted her head and studied him. "You're warm," she said calmly, her voice soft but deep. "That's good. That means the bond was successful. The what now?" Jay shouted, still trying to push her off. She didn't budge. "The bond," she repeated. "It's temporary. It helps me survive stressful environments. You were the closest compatible being." Jay stared at her. "You fell on me because you're stressed? This isn't therapy, lady. This is Earth, and I have exams in the morning." She finally rolled off him and sat on the edge of his bed. Jay coughed and took deep breaths like he had just survived a wrestling match with a refrigerator. "I am Zira," she said. "I'm your new roommate." Jay's jaw dropped. Wait. Roommate? I signed up for a quiet exchange student, not a space ninja who drops from the ceiling. Zira stood and brushed dust off her glowing uniform. "There was a small issue with gravity calibration when I transported." "My apologies." Jay got out of bed, rubbing his chest. "Apology not accepted. You nearly gave me a heart attack." She walked to the window and looked at the city lights. "This planet is louder than I expected. The Wi-Fi interferes with my neural stability." Jay grabbed his phone. "Well, sorry, Earth isn't on your alien comfort list." Zira turned to him, her face suddenly serious. "I must stay near you for now," she said. "If I break the bond too early, it could damage my nervous system. And possibly yours." Jay blinked. "Wait, my nervous system?" She nodded. "We're connected now, for a short time, emotionally, physically, energetically." Jay sat down, completely confused. "So you're telling me you crash-landed in my room, hugged me like a space bear, and now if we separate, I might explode?" Zira raised an eyebrow. "You won't explode. But you may experience dizziness, memory loss, or spontaneous nosebleeds." "Oh, great. That's just fantastic." There was an awkward silence. Jay looked around the room. His posters were crooked, books scattered from the impact, and his plant had fallen off the shelf. A small cactus lay upside down on the floor, like it had given up on life. He sighed. "This is not how I planned to start my week." Zira picked up the cactus and gently placed it back. "I can sense your frustration. I apologize again. My species bonds when we sense emotional distress. I must have felt yours in my sleep." Jay gave her a sideways look. "What distress?" "I was asleep," she paused. "You had a nightmare. You were dreaming about falling." Jay stopped. That was true. He had been dreaming about falling and someone catching him just before he hit the ground. "How do you know that?" he asked. Quietly. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked to her side of the room and started unpacking small glowing cubes from her backpack. "Because I saw it too," she finally said. Jay sat still. Something strange was happening here. This wasn't just a weird alien accident. Zira knew things he hadn't told anyone, and now they were bonded. He rubbed his forehead. "So what now? You just live here? Sleep in the bunk above me and keep reading my dreams?" Zira nodded. "Correct. Until the bond stabilizes. 3 Earth days, maybe 4. Jay groaned. "Great. I get to be roommates with a glowing mind-reading alien girl for the week." Zira looked at him. "Technically, I didn't read your mind. Just your emotional energy field." "Oh, so much better," he muttered. Just then, the lights flickered. Zira looked up sharply. Her eyes glowed faintly. Jay noticed. Is that normal? No, she whispered. Something's here. Something followed me. Jay stood up quickly. Followed you? Like ... from space? Zira slowly turned toward him. We need to leave this room, now. Why? She leaned close. Because I'm not the only alien who made it to Earth tonight. Magnetic trouble and a malfunctioning bond. Jay stood frozen in his dorm room, heart pounding, as Zira whispered, We need to leave this room, now. The light above them buzzed, then died with a soft pop. The room was suddenly dim, only lit by the soft blue glow from Zira's skin. Jay stared at her, eyes wide. Okay, can you maybe explain what's going on before I panic? Because I'm this close. He held up 2 fingers, screaming like a little kid in a horror movie. Zira moved fast, grabbing a small silver cube from her bag and tapping its surface. It unfolded mid-air into a hovering disc, projecting a soft pulse around the room. They followed my energy signature through the void, she muttered. They shouldn't have been able to trace it, not unless... Unless what? Jay whispered. Zyra looked at him, then said something he wasn't ready for. Unless I was set up. Flashback style intercut. She sees flashes of her transport jump, a brief glitch, an unnatural signal. Her arrival here wasn't random, it was redirected. Jay stepped back. Whoa, time out. You said you were here on an exchange program. I am, she said, eyes scanning, but someone changed my coordinates. I was supposed to arrive at a secure base. Instead, I landed in a dorm, on your chest. Jay raised an eyebrow. Lucky me, the walls creaked. A humming sound low, almost musical, filled the room. Zira's floating disc started flickering. That's not normal, Zira whispered. Jay moved toward the door, but the moment he touched the handle, a jolt of electricity shot through him. He yelped and jumped back. Are you serious? My door is booby-trapped now. Zira touched his arm gently. The bond is reacting. Our link is unstable. Wait, you mean the whole, if we separate, we both get nosebleeds thing is now becoming a touch the doorknob and die situation? Possibly. Jay stared at her. Zyra looked slightly embarrassed. This wasn't supposed to happen. Usually the bond fades gradually, but yours is different. Jay blinked. Mine? I'm a college kid. I study history and I'm lactose intolerant. There's nothing special about me. Zira gave him a look. That's not entirely true. Jay took a step back. What do you mean? She didn't answer. Instead, she closed her eyes and focused. A beam of light shot from the floating disc and created a 3D map of the room. And something outside it. A dark figure, large, breathing, standing right outside their door. Who is that? Jay whispered. Zyra's voice was barely audible. A hunter. Jay stared at the shape. A what now? They track bonded pairs. They feed on connection energy. That's how their species survives. And right now, we're a glowing buffet. Suddenly, a loud bang on the door. Jay screamed quietly, a manly scream. Kind of. The lights in the hallway flickered. Zira grabbed Jay's arm. We need to move through the vent. Jay blinked. Vent? I'm not Tom Cruise. I get stuck in revolving doors. But Zyra was already lifting the ceiling panel. Jay sighed and followed, grumbling all the way. Inside the vent, mid-scene suspense and comedy, tight crawl space. Jay complains about claustrophobia. Zyra explains her planet doesn't even have walls. The hunter starts ripping the door below them. Jay, on second thought, I love crawling in vents. Feels like home. They make it to the engineering wing of the campus. Zira uses a code to open a sealed lab door. Inside, alien tech, glowing panels, and a wall of screens. Jay looks around, wide-eyed. Okay, this is not the student lounge. Zira turns to him. This is the hidden alien consulate on Earth. Every major campus has one. Keeps the peace. Shares knowledge. Jay squints. You guys have space embassies in college labs? That explains our tuition fees. Zira walks up to a console and places her palm on it. Suddenly, red lights flash. A robotic voice speaks in a deep, cold tone. Unauthorized bond detected. Cross-species merge unstable. Jay gulps. That doesn't sound very peaceful. Zira narrows her eyes. Something's wrong. The system thinks we're not compatible. But that's impossible unless... She freezes. Jay leans in. Unless what? Zira turns toward him, voice low. Unless one of us isn't what we think we are. Jay's heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? Before she could answer, one of the screens lit up. It showed him, Jay, but younger. And not on Earth. A blurry video from some alien lab. Labeled, Subject Z09, Earth Hybrid Testing. Status, Dormant. Jay stumbled backward. Zira's voice was barely a whisper now. You're not fully human, Jay. The alien embassy and a secret mission. Jay stared at the glowing screen in the alien consulate's hidden lab. There he was on video, but not as he remembered himself. He looked younger, confused, scared. And he definitely wasn't on Earth. Subject Z09, Earth Hybrid Testing, Status, Dormant. He stepped back like the screen might reach out and grab him. No, 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 Jay muttered. That's not me. That can't be me. I've never left Earth. I've never even left my zip code. I'm not a lab experiment. Zira didn't look surprised. Jay, she said carefully, I need you to calm down. The system must have accessed the intergalactic registry. It found your record. My what? Jay shouted **ZYR to the terminal and scanned the data. You're not just human, you're part Zarnakian. That's my species. Jay blinked like he'd just been told he was half toaster. That's not possible. My parents are, well, normal. My dad watches golf and falls asleep on the couch. Zira's voice was steady but serious. Jay, listen. Zarnakian DNA doesn't always show until it's activated. And that only happens when you bond with someone from our species. Jay sank onto a glowing chair that hummed under his weight. So let me get this straight. You crash-landed on me while I slept, because of some weird survival bonding, and now I find out I'm part alien too. Zira nodded. Correct. Jay put his head in his hands. I'm going to need stronger coffee, or a spaceship-sized aspirin. Meanwhile, outside the lab, the hunter crouched on the edge of the roof, invisible in Earth's visible light range. Its fingers switched, sensing the bond energy below. It was growing stronger. The prey was becoming more than prey. And that made things more interesting. Back inside the embassy lab, Jay stood up, pacing. So what exactly was this test I was a part of? Zira hesitated. The Zarnakians wanted to see if humans could handle our neural structure. The results were mixed. Some subjects were unstable, others vanished. Jay gave her a look. You know, for an exchange program, your people sound more like mad scientists with scholarships. She didn't smile. Jay, you weren't supposed to be found. You were marked as dormant. That means someone hid your data. Jay turned toward her. So either my parents knew, or someone erased the truth from them too. Zira's eyes narrowed. There's more. The file says your genetic code holds a key, a sequence that could stabilize the bond between humans and Zarnakians permanently. Jay blinked. Wait, you mean we're like the sci-fi Romeo and Juliet who could save the galaxy's dating scene? Zira stared. It's not about romance, it's about survival. If our species can't bond with others peacefully, we're doomed to isolation or extinction. Before Jay could respond, the terminal beeped. A signal, an alert. Zyra leaned forward, her voice dropping. Oh no, Jay stood beside her and read the screen. Unauthorized entry detected. Consulate perimeter breached. Jay turned to Zira. Please tell me it's just your Uber Eats delivery guy. Zira's expression said otherwise. The hunter is here. Emergency protocol activated. The lab lights turned red. Steel panels sealed the doors. A small drone dropped from the ceiling, scanning them both. Zira looked at it. Emergency evac protocol. Hold still. Jay panicked. What does that mean? Where are we going? Somewhere safe, she said. I hope. The drone activated a portal circular, blue and swirling like a storm inside a bottle. Jay stared at it. I am not walking into that without answers. Zira grabbed his wrist. You want answers? Fine. The reason you were bonded to me, the reason I ended up in your room, was because your DNA pulled me in, Jay blinked. So, I didn't just get bonded. I called you, Zira nodded. Like gravity, but deeper. Like the universe wants us to complete something. The door slammed open, smoke hissed in, shadows moved. Heavy steps, slow, confident. Jay turned. Oh man, that's not the RA. Zira pushed him toward the portal. Go, Jay shouted over. The noise, where does it go? Zira replied, to the last place your DNA remembers, where the truth begins. Jay stumbled through the portal, vanishing. Zira turned, facing the dark figure stepping into the lab. The hunter. Its voice rasped, like glass grinding on metal. You should not have activated him. Zira stood tall. Too late. And then she leapt into the portal as it closed behind her, just as a claw swiped through the space. She'd been standing. Unknown location, a memory vault. Jay fell onto soft moss. Strange trees bent toward him. Stars blinked purple above. He looked around. And from the distance, a child's voice. Jay? He turned slowly. It was him, a younger version of himself, wearing strange clothes, holding a glowing cube. You're back, the child said. We were waiting for you. Jay's heart pounded. Attack of the Otherkin. Jay stood in the middle of a glowing forest that didn't belong on Earth. The sky was a deep shade of violet. Stars blinked like curious eyes, and the wind smelled like static and cinnamon. This place wasn't a memory. It was real, and it felt familiar. And then he saw him again, the boy. His younger self, maybe 7 years old, standing barefoot in the grass, holding a glowing cube. You're back, the boy said with a smile. We thought you'd never wake up. Jay stepped forward slowly. What is this place? The boy tilted his head. This is where the memory was stored. They put it here, so you'd remember when it mattered. Jay felt something pulling at his mind, like a forgotten song returning after years of silence. They? He asked, but before the boy could answer, the sky screamed. Not thunder, not wind, a scream, long metallic, angry. Zyra fell from a portal overhead, landing beside Jay in a perfect crouch. They're here, she said, panting. And not just one. Jay looked up and saw them, the Otherkin, creatures of shadow and bone, twisting like smoke. Their eyes glowed red, and they moved as if they were glitching in and out of reality. Jay backed away. What are they? Zira pulled a small blade from her side. They were once Zarnakian, but their bonds corrupted. They lost their minds. Now they hunt anything with a bond, especially hybrids like you. Jay looked at his hands, panic rising. So I'm basically walking alien catnip. Zira didn't laugh. Jay, you need to activate your core. My what now? She grabbed his shoulders. It's your genetic center. It's like switch. The bond is feeding it. Your memories woke it up. That's why they found us. Jay shook his head. I don't know how. She placed her forehead against his. Then feel it. The air around them pulsed. Jay's chest burned, not in pain but power. Energy surged from deep within. His skin glowed faintly, like sunlight trying to break through. He opened his eyes. The forest blurred. Everything slowed. He could feel every tree, every sound, even the creatures before they moved. And then he heard one of them think, "The hybrid must be taken alive." Jay turned, shocked. "I can hear them," Zira nodded. "Good. Now tell them they picked the wrong guy." The battle begins. The creatures charged. Zira moved like liquid lightning, blade spinning. Jay held up his hand by instinct, and a force pulse shot out, sending two monsters flying through the air like rag dolls. His mouth dropped. "Okay, I did not study this in gym class." One of the creatures lunged, claws reaching. Jay focused and the ground beneath it rose up, knocking it off balance. The young version of Jay just stood watching, nodding. "You're remembering," he whispered. Jay shouted to Zira, "How long do we hold them off?" She dodged a claw. "Swipe, we don't, we run." Escape to the vault. Zira pulled a disc from her belt, slammed it on the ground. A tunnel of light opened in the forest floor. She grabbed Jay's hand and jumped in. They fell again. Jay was getting really tired of space falling. They landed inside a giant chamber, filled with floating cubes, glowing symbols, and a massive mural on the wall, showing Jay's face. Zira stared, stunned. This is the Vault of Hybrids. The original site. I didn't think it existed." Jay was already walking toward the mural. His face was carved in ancient stone, standing between two figures, one Zarnakian, one human. Underneath it, an inscription, "The bridge shall be born twice." Jay touched it, and more memories rushed. In his body, inside a stasis pod, alien scientists arguing, a woman crying over him in a lab coat, with eyes like his. "My mom," he whispered. She knew. Zira stood beside him. "Jay, this place isn't just history. It's prophecy. You were designed to restore the balance." "Great," Jay muttered. "No pressure or anything." The arrival of the real threat. Before Zira could reply, the air went cold, not temperature. Emotionally cold. Like all hope was draining. The hunter stepped into the vault. Only now he wasn't alone. Behind him floated something worse, bigger, a being wrapped in metal and shadow. A twisted mask covered its face. Zira whispered, "That's a prime otherkind." Jay swallowed hard. "How prime? Are we talking like boss fight prime?" "Worse." The creature raised a hand, and Zira's body froze in midair. Jay screamed, "Let her go." "You were not meant to awaken," the prime said telepathically. "You are a danger to all species." Jay felt something snap in his mind. "I'm not a danger," he said. "I'm a bridge. And bridges don't fall without a fight." The mural behind him lit up. Ancient power poured from the walls into his chest. Jay's eyes glowed silver. His voice echoed unnaturally. "I remember everything." Jay lifted his hand. A wave of pure light burst forward, slamming into the prime otherkind. It screamed and staggered back, wounded, but not destroyed. Zira fell from midair, gasping. Jay helped her up. She looked at him, eyes wide. "You're becoming what they feared most." Jay looked at his glowing hands. "No," he said. "I'm becoming what I was always meant to be." A message from me. Everything was quiet now. Too quiet. Jay stood in the vault, still glowing faintly from the energy blast he'd released against the prime otherkind. Zira leaned on the wall, catching her breath. The air around them still buzzed from the explosion of light and force. "Is it over?" Jay asked. Zira shook her head, slowly. "No, that was just one of them. A scout. The real threat hasn't arrived yet." Jay frowned. "The real threat?" "I just tossed a giant alien demon into a wall like a dodgeball." "What's more dangerous than that?" She turned toward him, serious. "You." Jay blinked. "Me?" Before Zira could explain, the ground beneath them shifted. A rumble echoed through the vault. Then the mural cracked. A slice of light beamed from behind it, cutting the room in half. Jay shielded his eyes as the ancient stone split open, revealing a chamber inside the chamber, a smaller circular room. On the floor was a sphere, floating, humming, asterisk. Zira whispered, "That's a temporal capsule." Jay gave her a look. "Please tell me that doesn't mean time travel." She didn't answer. She was already stepping forward. Inside the capsule room, Jay approached slowly. The sphere pulsed. Once, a panel opened. Inside was a recording device, and next to it, an old, tattered hoodie. Jay stopped cold. He recognized it. It was his. From the future, Zira watched silently as Jay reached down, picked up the device, and pressed play. The recording flickered to life. A projection appeared. A man, older, worn, scarred, but definitely Jay. He looked directly at himself. "If you're seeing this, it means the bond has been activated. And it means we're almost out of time." Jay stepped back. "That's me. That's me, but older. Why do I look like I just survived 10 alien wars and a bad haircut?" Future Jay continued, "Zira's bond awakened your core. But if you go any further, you won't be able to come back. Not as the same person. There's a reason the hybrids were buried. A reason the vault was hidden. Our power doesn't just protect, it attracts. And if the others find what you found..." The projection glitched briefly. The image distorted, then returned. "You'll face something worse than the Prime. Something that even I couldn't stop." "Me?" Jay froze. "Wait, what?" "In one version of this future, I lost control. The bond became corrupted. My emotions, my memories, they broke. Reality, I became one of them." Jay's voice cracked. No way. That's not possible." Future Jay stared through him. "This is the part you have to decide. Stay with Zira, or let her go. You can't keep the bond forever. It either strengthens you or consumes you." The message ended. The capsule dimmed. Jay stood in silence. The air in the vault felt heavier now. Time itself seemed to hold its breath. After the message, Jay sat on a floating stone block. His hands trembled. Zira approached quietly. "Are you okay?" "No," Jay said. "I just got warned. By myself. That I might turn evil and break the universe. So yeah, I'm doing great." Zira sat beside him. "You're not him. Not yet. That future isn't locked in." Jay stared at her. "But what if I become the thing we're fighting?" She looked down. "Then I'll be the one who stops you." Jay glanced at her. "That's comforting in a terrifying way." Suspense rises again. Suddenly, the air inside the vault turned cold. Zira's eyes widened. "They're breaching the temporal walls." Jay stood. "What does that even mean?" "The others. They're trying to overwrite this reality. Pull in fragments of corrupted timelines." Jay felt it. A vibration. In his bones. Like the universe was glitching. A crack appeared in the wall. Not physical, but digital. Like a bad hologram. Through the crack, Jay saw something horrible. A version of himself, dressed in dark armor, eyes glowing red, leading a swarm of the otherkind. Zira pulled him back. "It's a mirror timeline." A warning. The crack expanded. Jay could hear his evil self laughing. "Why fight what you are? You're already halfway here." Jay clenched his fists. "Close it," he said. "Now." Zira held out the bonding stone they'd recovered from the capsule. "Only you can seal it. You have to use your bond to choose." Jay closed his eyes. Memories flooded him. His childhood, his family, the night Zira landed on him, the moment she said, "You pulled me here." And he made a choice. He stepped forward, raised his hand, and unleashed a wave of blue light. The crack screamed, twisted and shattered. Everything went still. The calm before another storm. Zira exhaled. "You sealed it," Jay nodded. For now. He looked around the vault. The place was starting to dim. The energy was fading. This place is out of time, she said. We can't stay here forever. Jay picked up the old hoodie and folded it slowly. Let's go. Before I get older and scarier. Zira opened a new portal using the bonding stone. But before stepping through, Jay looked back once. That version of himself, the corrupted one, was gone, but he knew it was still possible. And that scared him more than any alien monster, back on Earth. In the shadows of the campus rooftops, a communication device blinked to life. A voice came through in static. He has awakened. The vault is open. Phase 2 begins. The voice belonged to a human smiling watching Jay's every move. The mind meld and Zira's true nature. Jay couldn't stop hearing the voice of his older self. You're not ready for the truth about her. That line kept replaying in his mind like a broken record. Zira walked ahead of him in silence as they stepped out of the portal and into a hidden base beneath Earth's surface. Smooth silver walls, pulsing lights. Everything smelled like metal and ancient air. Jay finally broke the silence. You knew something was wrong with me from the start, didn't you? Zira didn't turn. Yes, Jay frowned. But you didn't say anything. I couldn't. Your bond wasn't strong enough. You weren't ready to see it. Jay folded his arms. What exactly am I supposed to see? Zira finally turned around. Her face was calm, but her eyes haunted. You're not the only one with secrets, Jay. Inside the memory core, Zira led Jay into a large chamber with floating crystals orbiting above a glowing chair. Jay raised an eyebrow. So, do I sit in that thing, and it tells me whether I'm part Jedi or just really messed up? Zira smiled faintly. Close. It will link our minds just once. A full neural fusion. You'll see my memories. I'll see yours. Jay hesitated. You'll see everything? Yes, she said. But more importantly, you'll see who I really am. Jay nodded slowly and sat down. Zira sat opposite him. The crystals dropped lower, spinning faster. A pulse of energy surrounded them. Everything went white. Asterisk. Shared memory space. Mind meld begins. Jay found himself standing in a Zarnakian city. Tall towers. Floating platforms. Sky full of stars and flying creatures. But this wasn't the present. It was a memory. Zira stood beside him, but she looked younger, maybe 14. She was in a lab, surrounded by scientists arguing in harsh voices. She's not stable. She's too human. We should have never mixed Earth DNA. Jay's breath caught. Zira wasn't just Zarnakian. She was a hybrid just like him. Suddenly the scene changed. Zira, older now, running through the same halls. Alarms blaring. Explosions. Soldiers shouting. A voice in her head. Run, Zira. They found out. Jay turned to her. What was that? Zira's voice echoed in the memory space. They created me in secret. My human side was hidden. But when I bonded with another hybrid years ago, the truth leaked. The bond drove him mad. He became the first prime otherkind. Jay felt the weight of it. You made the first one? No, she said quietly. I loved him. And I couldn't stop him. Jay's memories bleed in suddenly. The memory space twisted again. Jay's memory spilled in. His Earth childhood. His mother crying at night. Strange men in suits talking quietly in their living room. Then an image. A lab on Earth. A baby in a pod. His pod. Zira watched in silence. Jay whispered. My mom knew. She raised me like nothing happened, but she knew I wasn't normal. Another. Flash. Jay, maybe 5 years old, glowing faintly during a tantrum. A family photo, his father standing slightly too far behind them, awkward, almost afraid. Did they adopt me? He asked aloud. Zira nodded. They were told you had a rare genetic condition that you'd never activate. Jay looked down. Guess they were wrong. A shared truth back in the center of the memory space. The two stood side by side. Jay turned toward her. So you're like me. A hybrid. Zira didn't answer. Instead, the memory space shifted one final time. Jay saw a sealed room, one he didn't recognize. Inside, Zira stood, connected to a giant machine. He stepped forward, stunned. Wait, this isn't a memory. This is happening now. Zira's voice echoed. That's the secret I couldn't tell you. I'm not just a hybrid. I'm a living interface, a bridge between species. My purpose was to find someone like you, activate your core, and then complete the bond. But once the bond is complete, I stop existing as an individual. Jay froze. You're saying, when our bond finishes, you die? Zira's voice cracked. No, not die. I become something else. Something bigger. Something that links every human and Zarnakian together. A living signal. Jay stumbled backward. That's why your people chased you. That's why the otherkin want you dead. Zira nodded. Because if I complete the bond, it ends them. Emergency. In the real world, the crystals began spinning faster. A voice shouted from outside the memory chamber. Hunter presence detected. Incoming breach. Jay's eyes opened, snapping back to the real world. Zira was still linked to the machine, her body glowing dangerously bright. She looked barely conscious. Jay grabbed her arm. Zira, stay with me. She smiled weakly. You saw it, you know now. I won't let you vanish, Jay said. We'll find another way. No, she whispered. The bond is already at the final stage. You can either complete it or let it collapse. Final moment, the unthinkable. Choice. Suddenly, the wall behind them exploded. The corrupted version of Jay, the dark armored version, stepped through, eyes burning. You can't save her, it said. You are me. You made this choice before, and you'll make it again. Jay stepped in front of Zira, shaking with energy. No, he said, not this time. The corrupted Jay raised a blade made of pure energy. Then choose, her or the galaxy. Jay looked down at Zira. Tears formed in her eyes. It's okay, Jay. No, he whispered. It's not, and then. He made his choice. The final bond. The room burned with energy. Jay stood between Zira and his dark future self. The corrupted version of him, armored, powerful, eyes glowing with red fire. Behind Jay, Zira's body glowed brighter by the second. Her breath came in short, shallow gasps. The bond was almost complete. She didn't have long. The corrupted Jay stepped forward, his voice smooth but dark. You already know the outcome. You complete the bond. She becomes a living beacon. You lose her. Forever. Jay clenched his fists. There has to be another way. Dark Jay chuckled. There isn't. I know. I am you. Zira reached up weakly, touching Jay's hand. You have to choose, she whispered. Either I become what I was made for, or I fade, and everything we've done falls apart. The room around them shuddered, reality itself beginning to fracture as the energy peaked. Jay sleeping. Zira crashing into his chest. Survival bond, she had said. Back then, it was awkward. Confusing. Funny, even. Now it was the fate of two species. Jay's heart pounded. You said you were made to be a bridge. That completing the bond would link Earth and Zarnak forever. Zira nodded. Dark Jay growled, stepping closer. But if you do it, you lose her. That's the price. Jay turned to his darker self. Then I'll rewrite the price. The final decision. Jay placed both hands on Zira's face. She blinked at him. Jay, I won't let you go alone. He leaned in, forehead to forehead. I won't use you to save the galaxy. I'll stand with you. Zira's eyes widened. What are you doing? Jay's voice was steady. If the bond finishes ... then we finish it together. The fusion. Jay activated the core inside him. The same ancient code that had awakened in the vault, but instead of pushing it outward, he merged it with Zira's energy. Their bond twisted, flared, then exploded into light. Time stopped, space folded dot, and in that frozen moment, Zira's eyes met his. "You've changed the pattern," she said. "You didn't choose her or the galaxy. You chose both." Beyond time, Jay opened his eyes. He was floating in white space. No walls, no sound. Only light dot, and beside him, ZYR dot, she was no longer glowing uncontrollably. Her form was stable, real. Alive. Jay looked around. "What is this?" Zira smiled. "This is the bridge, the real one." From the light, two paths emerged. One led to Earth, the other to Zarnak, and in between a new corridor forming, a shared future. A merged timeline. Zira turned to him. "You didn't just complete the bond, you recreated it." Meanwhile, back in the physical world, the corrupted version of Jay roared as he felt the bond rewrite time. His armor cracked. His power vanished. The prime otherkin across the galaxy screamed in agony as the new bond spread, like a virus unraveling every corrupted connection. Undoing centuries of damage, ships exploded. Infected nodes disintegrated. One by one, the otherkin fell into silence, across the stars. Light replaced shadow. Returned to Earth. Jay awoke in his dorm room, his tiny, messy Earth dorm room. His cactus was upright again, posters straightened. The alarm clock blinked. 7 a.m. Had it all been a dream? He sat up, and Zira dropped from the ceiling. Again. Thump. Double quotes. What the Jay laughed. Deja vu. Zira rolled off him, brushing herself off. "Sorry, still working on my landings." Jay rubbed his eyes. "Did we actually just save the galaxy?" Zira tilted her head. "In most timelines, yes. In this one?" "Definitely." Jay smiled. "So ... You're not turning into a glowing alien signal?" "No," she said, smirking. "Turns out, you make a better bridge than I ever could." He blinked. "Wait, so what now?" She tossed him a glowing cube. "We co-run the first human Zarnakian Cultural Council." Jay looked at it. "Like meetings and paperwork?" Zira grinned. "Also coffee, with space muffins." He laughed. "Okay, that sounds better." Epilogue scene. 1 week later. A high-tech space cafe opens on campus. Humans and aliens sit together. Jay runs the counter. Zira programs the music. The galaxy is watching Earth now, not as a battleground, but as the center of peace. Zira leans over the counter. "You know, I'm still technically your roommate." Jay smirks. "Well, as long as you stop crashing into me in the middle of the night, we're good." She raises an eyebrow. "No." Promises. Asterisk above Earth. A satellite blinks, a silent watcher. Inside it, a screen shows Jay and Zira, and a voice says quietly, "Subject Z09, stable. Initiate phase 3. The screen flickers. A new figure steps into frame. Their eyes glow gold.